Let me tell you a creepy story that a man shared about something strange that happened in his apartment building. He said there is a very weird kind of relationship people have with their neighbors. You see them sometimes, you know where they live, but you know almost nothing about them. That is exactly how things were between him and the old woman who lived above his apartment. Her name was Mrs. Varelli. She was in her 60s and looked very thin and tired. Her hair was gray and messy, and her hands always trembled a little. The man said she was not very friendly. Sometimes he would say hello to her in the hallway, but she would just ignore him and keep walking. They almost never talked. But there was one problem. Late at night, he would often hear very loud noises coming from her apartment. Sometimes it sounded like heavy footsteps, like someone was running or jumping. Other times, her TV was so loud that his ceiling would shake. What made it even stranger was that this usually happened around 2 or 3 in the morning. One night, he finally got very angry. He climbed on a table and started banging on the ceiling and shouted, "Hey, please turn that off. It's the middle of the night." After a few seconds, the noise stopped. Then he heard the old woman's voice from upstairs. She said calmly, "You had to stand on a table to hit the ceiling, didn't you?" The man was surprised she guessed that. He laughed and said yes. Then she started guessing other things he was doing in his apartment. Somehow, she kept getting them right. It became a strange little game between them. Sometimes, when he dropped something or made noise, she would shout through the ceiling and try to guess what he was doing. The man thought it was funny, and they continued this weird conversation for weeks. Then one night, something happened that he will never forget. Around 2 a.m., he heard her voice again from upstairs. She said, "Can't sleep tonight?" They talked for a few minutes, joking like usual. Then suddenly, she said something strange. She said, "Maybe I should come downstairs and see you." The man laughed nervously and said, "I'd like to see you try." A few minutes later, someone knocked on his door. It was 2 a.m. The knock was slow and playful. The man walked quietly to the door, but did not open it. Then he heard the old woman's voice right outside. "Why are you pretending not to be home?" she whispered. The man felt very uncomfortable. Something about her voice sounded wrong, almost creepy. He looked through the peephole on the door, but there was nobody there. Still, he could hear her voice just outside the door. Then she started singing in a soft, eerie voice. The man became very scared and shouted, "Go away or I will call the police." Suddenly the voice stopped. He looked through the peephole again, but the hallway was empty. He stayed awake the entire night because he was too scared to sleep. The next morning, he saw Mrs. Varelli outside walking her dog like nothing had happened. Later that day, he told another neighbor about the strange night and the creepy singing, but the neighbor looked very confused. She said, "Are you sure you were talking to Mrs. Varelli?" The man said, "Of course, she lives right above me." Then the neighbor said something that made his blood run cold. She told him that Mrs. Varelli has been deaf and mute for years. She cannot hear anything, and she cannot speak at all. So the man has only one question now. If Mrs. Varelli cannot talk, then who was speaking to him through the ceiling? And who was knocking on his door that night?